Hi, everybody. This is Chris.
This is Matt, and I'm guessing with audio this time, right?
This was an audio problem. Yes, this is our second attempt because I wasn't letting Matt get recorded. Um,
Oh, and that's what the people want.
I know that's why they're here. They're not here for me, uh, and we'll talk about that in a second. 'Cause there were some comments this year we're going to talk about, but we are going to talk about 2018. Uh,
Yeah,
the games we
the-
played, what we thought of them,
our best and worst,
our best and worst.
our
Start.
honorable mentions. What are you doing?
Uh, I'm
Are you in a
dancing.
boat?
I might be. I'm rocking. I'm playing Subnautica in my mind.
Yeah.
This is how I got to play it till I get a new video card. I'm just gonna play
Oh,
Subnautica.
that's a sad story.
Isn't it a sad story?
That's
It'll
what I
be
like
fine.
about you, Chris. Your
Sad
sad
stories.
stories.
I have so many. Um, but we're gonna talk about 2018. We're gonna talk about the games we played, what we liked, what we didn't. We're going to talk about growth of the channel, and let's start right there with that. 300 subscribers as of yesterday or the day before.
I
As
think it
of
was the
right
day
now, for
before.
sure. But you know.
Yeah.
Um, and over 200 in the last year. We were under
Yeah.
100 subscribers before 2018. We've over doubled. I know we're not a huge channel, but we appreciate every single subscriber that comes in. And, um,
Yeah.
so this is my one time a year where I say the share, like, subscribe. Tell people about us if you like us. Don't if you don't.
Yeah.
Talk to us though, and we appreciate the comments. We appreciate everything you say down below, mostly. Um,
Yeah.
no, we
Unless you're
do.
hurtful,
Unless you're
don't be
hurtful,
hurtful.
don't be hurtful.
We're sensitive, vulnerable people.
I'm a delicate flower, my wife says.
You are a petunia in an onion patch over
I
there,
am.
buddy.
I really am. We should talk about comments because we had some good ones this year, and
Yeah,
I want to start out. Auto duel continues to be a hot topic.
it's a source of contention amongst our viewership, I think.
I,
Like, if there was one, it would be Auto
it would
Duel.
be auto duel.
People
Uh,
loved it. People love Auto Duel, and I think we somehow shit on their memories with our vehement dislike of it.
oh my God, we disliked it so
Were
much.
we just in a bad mood when we recorded that or something?
No, I've gone back and looked at other reviews from the time, and it's. I remember having the caveat I put on all this is I remember having great memories of Auto Duel, and I just don't anymore. And I'm sorry for that to everybody who likes it. I'm. This is why we start everything off with this is not a review. There's not going to be points handed out except at the end of the year when we say which we like, but it's still comparative within the year, not.
Yeah.
It's completely arbitrary and completely unfair because, like, we compared TIE Fighter, which wasn't even 20 years old, to other stuff, and that's not fair. TIE Fighter's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a couple people had some things to say, including, like, I have a constant and annoying laugh. And while it may be annoying, it's not constant. I have moments of not laughing.
I enjoy your laughter. It's like music to me. So don't let that guy
Yeah.
uh, make you feel bad.
He doesn't really. I just thought it was really funny. Like, there's two
Yeah.
things wrong with this video. First is Chris's constant and annoying laughter. Second is they obviously never played the game.
Did you get top billing on the annoying
I
things
I
on that?
did. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, I thought our incompetence would be way more annoying than your laughter,
No,
but yeah,
no,
here
no.
we are.
Here we are.
Not
The
if
other
you're
one
that
was
guy.
the guy was trying to be nice to us, and I love this comment because it just cracked me up so much. When someone posts, I get it sent to my email.
Hmm.
And so I got an email thing that said, these two have magnificent beards. And by the time I got there to say thank you, he had edited it to say, Matt has a magnificent beard. I'm like, you took it back. You're like, I agree with you, but you took it back? That
That's
hurts. That
hurtful. Yeah.
just hurts.
I like obviously I'm gonna feel different about this exchange than you are. Probably the opposite, if I'm being honest. But
No, and it was a video that was not my best beard. Like, I had
right.
bumped and shaved too much, and yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't disagree with him. I just thought it really funny.
A beard is more of a journey, I think, than a
Yeah.
haircut. Like you go in, you get your haircut, it grows out, you get a cut. But a beard is like this constantly changing
Mm-hmm.
thing. But
Yeah.
thank you, viewer, for your appraisal of my beard. That
Yes.
makes me feel good.
I agree with your assessment, but it did hurt. It hurt more than being told I have constant and annoying laughter.
Yeah,
It still was funny though. It was really
yeah.
funny. I do want to talk about something that, like, normally we would do a short game review,
Hmm.
and since we're doing short games just constantly now, I didn't want to like stick another one in here. The point of December is to chill out, not add work. Um, so we both watched Bandersnatch, and that seems to
Yeah,
be a hot topic at the moment. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, and we'll start with what'd you think of it?
I thought it was very good. I I was really impressed with it. I don't think it's something that you could turn into a thing because I think what made it work was the self-referential recursive nature of Bandersnatch where it's self-aware enough and you can't do that over and over again. You can't keep making self-aware choose your own adventure
Right.
films like that. But for what it was, I'm a big Philip K. Dick fan,
Okay.
and it was very very Philip K. Dick esque, Dick
Yeah. It
like, Philip K. Dick like. I don't know.
was very dicky.
Yeah, but it was good. Like it was well acted and well made, and it got a little muddy in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to happen with all choose your own adventures because you don't know how they're getting through the middle to get to where you want them at the end. Sometimes you're taking different paths to get there, and some stuff will touch the same path from different directions. So I can see that always being a problem with something like that.
I
Um,
think my problem with the muddiness was a few things. One, it sometimes I wasn't sure what an ending was. Like
yeah.
at the ending, it says, "Do you want to play again?" And
Hmm.
then like, yeah, this is the end. But sometimes like things happen and it goes back, but those are incorporated into the story, so it can be a little
Right.
nebulous. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to surrender the idea of a linear
Hmm.
start and an end.
Yeah. I'm going to try not to spoil too much about it.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. For me, Nina wanted to know why everyone's trying to make movies for me. Between Ready Player One and this one, which is a kid in 1984 is trying to make a video game and get it published.
Hmm.
She's like, why are you the target demographic all of a sudden?
Because we got money now.
Yeah, that's exactly why it is. We're we're right in that era where we can actually afford to be nostalgic.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's for me. That was an absolute blast to kind of just sit and wallow in nostalgia on.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring this up is there is somebody I follow on Twitter, and if you don't follow her, I would. She's a game developer. Um, like I want to do her bona fides justice. Um, her name's Jennifer. I'm gonna mess this last name up.
Oh boy.
Sheurle. Shirul. Shirul.
This is your bag, man. I don't want any part of pronouncing that last name.
uh, let's just talk about her for a second. Portfolio biography. Um, First off, one of the sweetest people I've met on Twitter. Every interaction with her has been fantastic. I first started our first tweets back and forth were a disagreement under Warren Spector about arguing about how games work and what goes into them. And then she's like, at the end, she's like, I was on a long flight. I totally misread what you said. And I'm like, follow. Like anybody who can do that,
Yep.
she's like, we're on the same page. We're totally just Um, but like she does a lot of work towards getting women into game development. Has won many awards. Was part of the 30 under 30 for game development. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and her Twitter is at Gohmee, Gaohmee. Go follow her. She's definitely worth a
Yeah.
follow. And this Vanity Fair article was talking about Bandersnatch and how it's a bad game. I I disagree on both aspects, both that it was bad because I think it was good, and that it's a game because I don't think it's a game.
I
Um,
I didn't think of it as a game either. And like I think the source material, no one ever thought of Choose Your Own Adventures as a game.
right.
It's more a step toward game than a Choose Your Own Adventure book because it's immediate, it's a little more interactive. Um, but you're not role playing, you're just picking A or B.
Yeah. Um, and even within it, your interaction is treated as part of it. It's more like an interactive art project,
Right.
and you you don't consider that a game. Like if I handed somebody a Choose Your Own Adventure book and a DMG, a Dungeon Master's Guide, they would point to the Choose Your Own Adventure and call it a story, and they'd point to the other one and call it a game. And why I'm hung up on this, and I'll tell you the thread it pulled, because it just pulled this whole thread for me. Um, it's that quote about if you judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you're giving it a different set of standards to live up to. An interactive show versus an interactive game, it's never going to live up to being an interactive game. Games just do it better, but it's reaching for a different audience and it's looking for a different set of things. And I think it does that really well. And it comes back to my problem. We talk a lot about grinding because we play these old games and how
Hmm.
grinding in a lot of these old games can actually be fun. And I try to explain that to people and they're like, I don't, you're talking gibberish to me.
Hmm.
What do you mean grinding's fun? But I think it's the difference between we call everything like everything that's sold on Steam, everybody calls a game. But everything sold in Toys R Us isn't a game. Some are toys, and those are interacted with differently and
Hmm.
have a different expectation behind them. So something like The Sims or Sim City isn't a game as much as it's a toy, and the grind is the point. And
Yeah.
and I think every time we just sort of give it this blanket label, um, we're losing aspects of development and paths of entertainment by trying to hold it to one standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Not it. I don't even think that we need to necessarily compartmentalize what it is. Like Bandersnatch is
Yeah.
Bandersnatch is an interactive adventure,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more than that. Like it's a film. It's part film, part it's part game.
Right.
There's game like elements. Um, but yeah, we don't need to put everything in a box and uh, pin it down on a board.
Right. I think, and that's kind of my point. If we're going to pin it down on a board, then game isn't the right word and we need to pin it somewhere else. But if we're going to let game be this broad, generic entertainment aspect, then we need to allow that there's no such thing as one path through. Does it, like
Right.
saying something's done a bad game when it's obviously succeeding. People are obviously entertained, and that should be its ultimate goal, and it's doing it. So,
Right. Like you said, to judge it under the same criteria that you judge,
Tomb Raider. Yeah.
Skyrim or
Yeah.
whatever, is not really
No. No.
fair.
Well, and also, due to some length, like with Bandersnatch, I could get through in like 15 minutes. And so
Right.
backtracking and something like that, I don't care. I'll backtrack 100 times because I'm looking for things I haven't seen and new things to cue in on. Um, where asking me to backtrack Skyrim,
Right.
come
That's a
on,
big
man, I'm
deal.
already in 80 could you,
Right.
could you,
Right.
cut me a little slack here. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
that was kind of my little thing on Bandersnatch. From Bandersnatch, the game Nosedive is actually available to go play, which I think
On
is
your
fantastic.
ZX Spectrum
On your ZX
emulator,
Spectrum
a
emulator,
very British choice, which I approve of.
I totally approve of. I'm finding a new appreciation for the ZX there. Um, we'll be doing more stuff with it in the future now that we've kind of tapped into it thanks to Lords of Midnight.
Yeah.
I actually want to go back and play a Lords of Midnight version on it. I haven't played it on the emulator. I think that'd be so much fun. Um, but anyway, anything else we want to recap from the year before we start talking
No,
about our games of the year?
no, I think I'm ready to kick these around.
Okay. Yeah, we did a bunch of games this year since we've added the short games in the mix too.
Yeah, it looks like 17. Is that right?
Yep. Alone in the Dark 2, Bard's Tale. Alone in the Dark 2 is another one that we're starting to get a little people are like, I remember liking it. It's its own thing. I'm like, it is, and you're allowed, but I still can't stand it. Bard's Tale, Carmageddon, Castle Wolfenstein, Conan, Halls of Volta, Forbidden Forest, Hunter, Erotica, King's Quest, Lemmings, Neuromancer, Oregon Trail, Populous, Rings of Zilfin, Star Control 2, Strike Commander, and Ultima 1. And we will be using our same
Quite the list.
categories of best and worst, starting with fun. What was your worst?
The game I had the least amount of fun with was Alone in the Dark 2.
Get out.
Yeah. Not a shocking choice. I just didn't enjoy playing it. Like, it frustrated me more than I enjoyed it. I didn't feel compelled by the world. It didn't give me any kind of creepy vibe the way the first one did.
Right.
Like, I'll play the shittiest game if you can capture that weird, surreal, creepy vibe. Like, I'll put up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And 2 just didn't do it.
I think that's one of the things, like, when we go back and play these games, sometimes people are like, oh, you just didn't give it a chance or give it credit. We're both willing to put up with a ton of crap from a game and still push through. Especially me. I finished it, so
Yeah,
let's just
right.
talk about that for a second. Like, I'm willing to give these games a chance. I didn't care for that one. How about best game? Most fun, not best game, most fun.
Right. The most fun I had was playing Carmageddon.
That was at the top of my list, but I'm going with Castle Wolfenstein.
Did you pick Alone in the Dark 2 for least fun?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
horrible. That was
Yeah.
because that one was so bad, what was your second least? I mean, did you have a second least?
I didn't honorably mention, but it would probably be, just looking through the list, it would be probably Strike Commander.
Yeah. Agree
I
with that.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy Strike Commander.
What
What, you picked Wolfenstein for your most fun?
Most fun. When I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, what game did I just sheerly enjoy?
Yeah,
And it was Wolfenstein. Forbidden Forest was up there. Beyond Forbidden Forest.
yeah. I really
Uh,
enjoyed Forbidden Forest.
Conan Halls of Volta.
Mhm.
Those were the top 3 out of all these. Bard's Tale, I did too. But not the same just doofy revelry that I
Right.
got from those 3.
And those were all short games, weren't they?
All short games.
Yeah, there's something about short games that lend themselves to like little bursts of fun. Might not be as rewarding,
Mhm.
but they're a lot of fun.
And that might be why I had the most fun too, because it didn't overstay its welcome with me. Like, we didn't grind it
Yeah.
out for a month. We played it for a few days. We're like, that was a blast, and then moved on.
You know what made me love Wolfenstein?
Hmm.
Hearing people, especially Mark Lemmert,
Especially Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. He loves Wolfenstein, and
Genuinely.
yeah, and like he talked about it in the comments, and I went back and played it, and it was like second-hand nostalgia. Like, I could understand it, why he liked it, and like I had a blast playing it again. And he also sent us a version where the walls don't buzz, which I
Yes.
also really like.
Thank you.
But even without that, like I felt like I got it after
Mhm.
Mark explained it to me, and that's why when we get comments where people say we're wrong about games,
We
I do think
check.
maybe I should go back and try to see it through this person's eyes, unless it's Alone in the Dark too, and then fuck that, I just don't want to.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if you go back and watch our videos, and then come in here and hear me say Castle Wolfenstein was the most fun I had, you would not get that from our video playthroughs.
Right.
Because I liked it, but I didn't love it at the video. It was Mark and playing it again and going back and looking at how the maps worked and going,
Right.
oh, I get it at a level I didn't get it before, and just so much more fun.
I think that's where like modern gaming, we have so many games. Back in the day, like you didn't have that many games, so you learned so much about how they worked and the rules. And when you're blowing through it in a month, even with the short game, like Wolfenstein's a perfect example, because there's a lot going on there, really.
Yeah,
Um, and unless you're committed to it for your childhood, the duration of your childhood, you might not pick that stuff up. So when someone comes and tells you, yeah, there's all this like depth to it and it's more interesting than you're making it, and you're doing the controls wrong, my bad.
yeah,
uh but you can go back and you're like, holy shit, yeah,
yeah,
I get it now.
right. And this is where I thought when we started this project, and I said we're taking a month to do things. I'm like, a month is enough. I don't know that it always is anymore. So a lot of our RPGs we're spreading out to 2 months. We're going to do a how
Mhm.
to play thing, and then another thing. We're going to pull a little bit of a cheat with Deathlord at the end of this year, and if that works, we'll do it for other bigger games like Ultima 5. It's it's surprising to me how long it takes some of these old games to really roll up your sleeves and get going through them and really enjoy them. At our age, I think that should be the other thing
Mhm.
that's said. Like if I was a teen, a month would have been enough.
If you were a teen though, you wouldn't play Wolfenstein.
Well, I would have when I was a teen.
Right. Right.
But I mean, if I
Back in
had
the
the time,
40s.
yeah, back in the 40s, um, it there just isn't the time available with life and job and everything for me to really do
Yeah.
that. Did you get a chance to read that article I sent you? I know I like just sent it to you about
No, I didn't.
being older for games.
I
Um,
saw the headline. I think I opened it, but I was driving around and didn't.
yeah, that's fair. Don't drive and read articles I send you.
No.
That's bad idea. Um, like one of the things they talk about is how as you get older, your desire for competition drops. Like you don't feel as
Very true.
competitive. That's so true for us. So a lot of these games that I might have liked back then, I don't anymore. I just don't have the competitive spirit anymore. I still want to win something, but I also don't care if I lose. I just don't care. It's just
Yeah. Right.
like, so. All right, that was a lot of talk on fun.
Yeah, it was.
Ready for interface?
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a one-note villain here, but I again picked Alone in the Dark too, or a
Yeah.
one-note. Did I say villain?
Yeah.
I was reading the next the next category. Uh,
No.
One-note jam.
Yeah.
But yeah, the interface was bad. The camera changes at inopportune times. Your guy moves too slow. The punching is not timed right. Bad interface.
Bad interface all the way through. Best interface. Most wonderful interface. Most something. Not best, but you know.
I think you're going to be surprised here, but I picked Oregon Trail. It's so simple. It tells you everything you need right in the game. It's it's designed for kids to just sit down and play, and they succeeded in it. Like when you were a kid, you didn't need to learn how to play that thing. You just knew. It was
I
like
can't disagree. That's
in
that's
your
a
DNA.
that's a solid choice. I am surprised, but it's a solid choice. I went with Lemmings.
Lemmings, I called out as an honorable mention
Yeah. I went with Lemmings.
because it's a great interface.
I thought for sure you were going to say Populous. That's one of my big like you really dug that Populous interface.
I didn't dig it so much. Like I didn't think it was clear enough. I did think about Populous, but I acknowledge that it's not clear enough and it's not concise enough and it's
Mhm.
not perfect.
No. It's a little too
There were
artsy fartsy and not enough. Yeah.
and the artsy fartsiness is what I liked, but it was at the function or at the
Cost of
sacrifice of
function.
some functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on interface? I mean, there's not a lot to say usually on interface. You either liked it or you didn't.
Yeah.
Villain.
Okay, I don't want to sound like a one-note surprise in here, but
Okay.
I picked One-Eyed Jack from Alone in the Dark too.
Okay.
Just didn't I didn't feel it. I didn't like him. Uh yeah. And
Y-
some of them some like Populous you can't there is a bad guy but there's no character around it. It's just this nebulous
mhm.
other. So you know, it was hard to pick.
Yeah. I actually went with a different choice for worst villain. Believe it or not,
Okay.
I went with Strike Commander. Because while Alone in the Dark had a bad villain, he wasn't outright racist.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I'm just and I guess not outright racist, but just insensitive enough that it's an awkward feeling.
Yeah, and Strike Commander is kind of an alternate history kind of thing, right? Where
Yeah,
you're fighting some nebulous. Uh,
but you do eventually fight like the French guy, and like
yeah,
I mean, and like that I can call him. I don't remember his name. It's just the French guy, you know.
right.
And then I dealt with the South American Generalissimo, and then we did the
Oh,
Saudi guy
right.
and the thing. Like it was all
That's a
every
good
time you're
choice.
dealing with somebody, it was just some early '90s stereotype hammered
Right.
home. And
Yeah, that was definitely a thing in these early '90s games we're finding. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a better call. Actually, I support your answer. I just like was thinking of the villains in Strike Commander as the Jets, and I didn't like attach any identity to them. But you're right. Like
yeah, from the
when
story
you
aspect, it's these
right,
characters behind the scenes, and like, oh,
not cool. Yeah.
not cool, not cool. Um,
Who's your best villain?
my best villain, Forbidden Forest.
Forbidden Forest. I had two honorable mentions. There were a lot of really good villains in games this year. My
There were,
two honorable mentions were Forbidden Forest and Karateka because that
yeah,
guy with the whole thing, the
and the bird,
cinematics,
and
and
yeah,
yeah.
I can see
But
that.
the best I picked was Star Control 2.
I can see that as well. I can appreciate that as a villain.
Yeah, all the villains were really good in
Hmm.
Star Control 2. The artificial intelligence people that want to disassemble you into parts,
Yeah,
like they all had personalities. They were really great.
I do want to go back and play that game sometime. That is a game that I will revisit now that I know more about it. Because
Yeah,
it is a good game. It is. It's
I liked my problem with it was that I liked grinding too much and I didn't go out of my way to advance the
the story.
story. Like I liked gathering those resources.
Hmm. Well, you'll be happy next month.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at the end, but I
But
think you'll be happy.
yeah, Forbidden Forest, you're right. Like the monsters, all
All the monsters were good. I was just thinking of the Demogorgon, but
the
like all of them
Demogorgon's
are good.
fantastic
Yeah.
with the head.
Hmm.
Wait, that's the one with the heads, right?
No, there's the Hydras.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
yeah. And
Demogorgon
then
was
you
just
get
in the
the
pit and had the diamond, and just like you walk in the room, it's like
right.
wham.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there were no bad things in Forbidden Forest.
Great game.
Great game. Which one surprised you the most?
Rings of Zilfin surprised me the most.
Me too. Like,
Never heard of it. Totally under the radar. Had a blast with it.
I knew after Magic Candle it would be good, but to know that this was this guy's game right out the gate and that he nailed it this well
Hmm.
really surprised me. Really, really surprised me.
I thought
Uh,
I thought I would not like the way it's laid out and the mechanics of it, but I did, and it worked. Like it was a good game. I was really surprised that I had never heard of it and never.
yeah. I saw a review of it where they dogged on the combat, and so I never wanted to pick it up.
It
And
is perfunctory. I mean, it's
yeah,
not in depth, but it's fine. It
it's
suits
fine.
the game.
It's the game is a more story driven thing. Um, a little bit of resource management. It's a good game, and I need to go finish it, but it is. I was really happy with it. It surprised me. What was the least surprising?
Um, well, I said Strike Commander, but I think what I was saying there is that it's the worst nostalgia. So probably the game that's exactly like I remember it. Uh, if that's how we're defining least
Yes.
surprising.
Yeah.
Probably Oregon Trail. It was
Oh.
exactly what I remember.
I can see that. Even when I showed you the Raiders one.
That was surprising because I had never encountered that. That was almost jarring.
That was hard to find. And there's a version of it before that that I think has not been ripped yet from anywhere. I think we're still, you know, preservationists are still looking for the version with the Native Americans.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because that was the version I had when I started. Um, my least surprising was Lemmings. I've
Yeah.
played Lemmings so much that I'm like, I know Lemmings. Lemmings is home to me. I'm not.
Right. No, that's a great answer. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of them that that are just so classic
Yeah.
uh, that they're just not going to change. Carmageddon was exactly how I remembered it too.
Yeah. I think there were like little like fringes that felt a little different to me when I came back to it, but no, I was pretty solidly what I remember as well. Um,
Yeah.
Wolfenstein was honestly not like I remembered it, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Neuromancer was too, but there were still parts of it that, as a kid, I thought of differently. So, and then honorable mention for me in this surprising category is the Apple version of Ultima One, like the original.
Yeah.
Uh, because I always thought it really weird that Ultima 1 was such a solid game and then Ultima 2 seemed to walk backwards.
Hmm.
And having played the Apple version now of Ultima 1, Ultima 2 was a step forwards. And it
Right.
suddenly makes sense to me in the pantheon of how it all plays out. So I got to bring that up.
The thing that I find so interesting about the Ultima games is that every year we play at least one, and I never mark them in any of these categories. And it's not because they're bad or good, and it's not even that they're mediocre. They're just like steady,
You
very.
noticed that too, did you? Like me
Yeah.
too. Like they don't get in here.
Yeah.
Um, they're because we're doing stuff right now that's like 10 or 0 on the scale, and these are all solid like eights, eight and a
Right.
halfs, like,
Right.
and
Great
across
game.
the board, like
Right.
they're good across the board in all these categories, but not the best in any. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Most reliable Ultima. There you go.
most reliable.
It's a new category.
Yep. All right, nostalgia. This was where you're going with some of this.
Yeah. Worst nostalgia, or well, best nostalgia was probably Oregon Trail
Yeah,
for obvious reasons. We probably don't need to get into that. What'd you
right.
say for best?
Rings of Zilfin. Even though I never played it before, it took me back to playing games on my Commodore. It took me
Yeah.
back to that era in my sort of childhood memory and just happy place.
Yeah.
Um, and
That's a great answer.
some of it might be because like when we were playing it, you and I were like texting notes back and forth to each other, like, "Oh, I just found this," or "Hey, I figured out where this pool is," or
Right.
something like that. And it allowed us to discover the game together the way I would have with my friends back then, and that added a lot to it.
Yeah, it's a rare thing that neither of us have played one of these games, so it
Right.
was it was cool.
Hmm.
And our schedules just happened to sync up that
Yeah.
few days when
Yeah.
we did that, so it worked out really well. That's a
Really
great
nice.
answer.
Yeah. And my worst nostalgia was Star Control 2.
No, mine was Strike Commander.
You
No, I
know,
don't.
I might switch it to Strike Commander because Strike Commander not only wasn't nostalgic, it actually ruined nostalgia. It
Yes, right. It was
actually
negatively nostalgic. That's
negatively
why I picked it.
nostalgic. That is a fair point because like Strike Commander 2 or Star Control 2, I had no emotional ties to. Like
Hmm.
it's a good game, but I don't feel any throwback to my childhood.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't
yeah,
like much else that you played, and
yeah,
you know.
no. But Strike Commander made me question my choices
Right,
as a childhood.
right.
Okay. Sound and music.
For the worst, I had to say grudgingly that Wolfenstein was the worst
It
because of
is.
that shriek.
Yep.
I
Same.
love the voice,
Yeah.
but I just can't get past that shriek. It was just really not
Yeah.
great.
Sorry,
The alarm.
Wolfenstein. Yeah.
Yeah, I love you, but yeah. Is that what you said too?
Oh yeah. And I'm betting
Yeah.
we have the same for best sound music.
Yeah, like we had another I had two honorable mentions and a best because I couldn't choose. We had a lot of games with really good sound.
Okay. What was your best sound?
I had to say Neuromancer because of the Devo soundtrack, and
Oh,
I love
I know
Devo.
you love you some Devo. I should have seen that coming.
Yeah, but there wasn't much sound in it.
Do you know what
So,
mine was?
was it Forbidden Forest?
Yes, it was Forbidden Forest.
Forbidden Forest was my first honorable. I couldn't decide really.
Oh, it's so good. That music's
And then
just so good.
I also called out Star Control 2 because the music in Star Control 2 was pretty good.
I hovered over Star Control 2 because it was good. I give an honorable mention to the Bard's Tale music because it was integrated into gameplay, and I think
Right.
that's something no one else really did at the time or even since.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because it's a nice touch. It
Yeah, it's a
really is a
neat
nice touch.
mechanic. Yeah.
Um, you said you had an honorable worst.
No, no, just
Oh, I had an
honorable.
honorable worst.
What was your honorable worst?
Alone in the Dark too. I had to bring up that the music made no sense to the places you were in and just
Right.
jumped around, giving auditory whiplash. It just crazy
Yeah.
that way. Um, yeah. Any other sound music things that we didn't cover?
No,
Okay.
I think that was it.
What game had the best introduction for you?
Carmageddon
Carmen. Oh.
with an honorable mention of
Oh.
Star Control 2. Carmageddon had kind of that 90s metal, people getting run over by cars.
Yeah.
It's a good. I went back and watched a few of them, and I was like, oh, you can't deny Carmageddon.
You can't. That's good. I think I'm sticking with Forbidden Forest, but man, you're making me question it. Because Carmageddon did have a great, just set the tone. Just
Yeah.
from the moment you boot that thing up, that tone is set, and
Yep.
you know what you're getting. Um,
I also honorably mentioned again Star Control 2.
hmm
Really good sci-fi inspired,
Yeah.
introduction, decently written.
Yeah. What was your worst? Worst
Alone in the
introduction.
Dark 2. Of the games that had an introduction, I found that one to be uninspired and somewhat boring.
I found it to not make sense with what the type of game should be. So since it already set me off on the wrong thing, but I might have to take it back, um, because it might have been wrong for what I thought the game should be. It told me exactly what the game was, and I didn't listen.
Hmm. That's an interesting point.
Um, so if I had to go to worst introduction, man, not Rings of Zilfin. I love that little guy blowing things up.
Yeah. Rings of Zilfin was good. Uh, some of these just didn't have an intro.
Some
Like
of them,
Karateka had a great introduction, so you
yep,
absolutely can't choose that. Did
no,
Hunter have an intro? It had the
mm,
little screen with all the.
yeah. I mean, it didn't really have an intro. Ultima One had that demo mode that was so bad it was good.
Yeah.
Um,
Strike Commander had a pretty good intro with
Strike Command
jet
had a pretty good intro
fighting.
when all said and done. Populous had some weird demon faces on it that I didn't care for one way or the other, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah. I mean, I guess Alone in the Dark gets it because we don't like the game, but that doesn't seem fair. I guess if I'm gonna pick, and I'm gonna pick fairly, um, like I keep wanting to go to King's Quest, but it doesn't have an intro. I'm just complaining about it starts you right next to a moat you fall in. That's
Right.
different. That's not an introduction.
Right.
Um, Conan Halls of Volta.
Was there even one?
Yeah, there's like a little arcade attract screen, and that was
Oh, okay.
sort of
Oh
my.
yeah, right. With
It's
the
fine. It gives
bad
some
guys.
points and stuff, but it doesn't really tell a story or anything. It's just there. So I'll give it that, but only begrudgingly.
Yeah,
Only because I can't, in my heart, justify Alone in the Dark 2. Doesn't deserve it, but
I had no problem going with making that choice.
worst manual.
Worst manual? I thought Strike Commander had the worst manual. The reference card was okay, but it was way too wordy. It
Hmm.
didn't really do a great job world building. There were things that were just missing where you had to read both the manual and the reference card to figure it out. Not a good manual. What was yours?
Oh, Alone in the Dark 2. Um,
Oh yeah.
it was like half a piece of paper. It mostly talked about installing stuff. It just
Yeah.
yeah, wasn't good. Um, Forbidden Forest, I have necessary.
Yeah.
You had to, like, there's
I
a gameplay element that you couldn't do.
I
Um,
liked the manual for Beyond the Forbidden Forest because it really explained everything. I thought that
yeah,
was cool. Like obvious care was taken.
yes. No, that guy cared about it inside and out. I think the only reason there was that glaring sort of how do you get between things is just because couldn't make it work in the space and the stuff
Sure.
so like I'm willing to give it a bit of a pass. Best manual?
I went with the classic SSI manual of Rings of Zilfin. The last page tells you the nuts and bolts of what you need to know in a really concise way, but there, if you want to dive in, there's lore, there's a
Mm-hmm.
bestiary, there's everything you need. Good manual.
That is a
Thanks,
good manual.
SSI. What
uh
did you say?
Lemmings.
Okay. I don't remember the Lemmings manual at all.
Lemmings and a Lemmings manual is mostly uh like comics.
Oh, cool.
And it's like this guy has an umbrella and it shows him walk off a wall and float down and then keep walking. And this one's a digger and it shows him take out a pickaxe and like the whole thing is done in this sort of very graphic, um, illustrative, simple thing, very quick, but definitely there was no ambiguity as to what you had to do.
Hmm.
So I liked Lemmings. It was a creative take on the manual.
Yeah, it never even occurred to me to read it because
Hmm.
the interface is so
This
clean.
interface is
Like you
so
don't.
good. Yeah,
What do you need to know?
yeah. Yeah, I read it only because like I was interested. I'm like, what is the manual? I know we're going to talk about this, but yeah. So, uh, story, best story,
Again, I
worst
said
story.
Alone in the Dark too because it's a dry hump. Like there's no reason that the zombies are zombies. It's just it's not a good story. It didn't connect with me. All the heavy-handed gambling
Hmm.
references, it just didn't click with me.
Yeah, I can see that. I went with Strike Commander.
Yeah, I didn't mind the Strike Commander story too much. Wasn't much to say
I
about
was
it.
gonna say,
You're like a
I didn't
you're like a
mind it too much.
mercenary
Didn't
jet
hurt my
pilot.
feelings.
Yeah.
No, it was for me. It was just it felt tacked together to just sort of string a series of here's a mission over this type of graphic. Here's a mission over this type of graphic. Um, I'll give Alone in the Dark 2 for at least trying something a little more inventive, even if they didn't pull it off.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't. I just didn't feel like the Strike Commander story
that's fair.
was a thing for me. Um, I have an honorable mention though for story of Star Control 2.
Yeah. I like the Star Control 2 story too.
Yeah. Um,
Good call.
did I ask you what your best was for story?
No, I said Bard's Tale.
Bard's Tale. Very good.
Pretty it's simple. It's not super plot driven, but
Mm-mm.
there's elements,
Yeah.
it's
There's a
it's a good,
storyline you follow through if you're reading the
yeah,
dialogue. Yeah,
yeah, good story.
it's a good story. I can get behind that. Game World.
What was your best?
My best was Neuromancer.
Oh yeah, of course, Neuromancer. That's a good answer.
How about you?
Oh, what was your best for story?
Neuromancer.
Oh, okay. My best was Bard's Tale. We just said that.
Oh yeah, yeah. My best. So what was Game World?
Oh, my best game world was Forbidden Forest.
It's a good choice. I went
I
with
love
Neuromancer
that.
for that as well. So
Yeah, I
uh,
didn't think the graphics in Neuromancer conveyed the grittiness of the world well enough, so I didn't pick it. But it is a good it's a good
yeah.
cyberpunk world.
Hmm.
especially if you are generous
The
with the game
terms.
and kind of let it lean on the book a little bit. That
Yeah.
helps it.
Yeah, it helps it a lot. Um, but
I
yeah,
also
hmm?
I gave an honorable mention to King's Quest because I liked that game world. I liked the fairy tale, but not fairy tale game world of King's Quest.
I gave an honorable mention to Star Control 2.
Yeah, that's totally a good call.
Yeah. What was your worst game world?
Hunter,
Really?
so sparse, not really uh, engaging. I didn't think.
You and I think, had very different reactions to Hunter. I loved it. Um,
What was your
just
worst?
King's Quest.
Really?
I can't stand it. Oh my God.
Oh man.
Uh, the map is abysmal. The stuff is
The
strung
map
together.
is bad.
There's a kingdom. This guy's overseeing two peasants in a hut, and he can't manage to keep them fed. Uh,
Yeah, fair
like,
enough.
just, and it is just a bunch of, it isn't even new stuff. It's how many fairy tales can I cram into one game. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
I like it. I think I probably like it because I have so much nostalgia for it as a kid.
I can
Uh,
so totally see that. Yeah.
yeah, like I played the shit out of it, and like I remember the witch's house,
Hmm.
and like it to me, it kind of it connects because it is just a bunch of fairy
Oh,
tales crammed into a world. But when you're walking around, you like find new things, and every screen feels new. And if you stumble on something, it's always interesting.
yeah.
But I see your point.
In the Hypocrisy Awards, if it was Quest for Glory on here, which does pretty much exactly the same thing, I wouldn't have put it as my worst for probably the same reason.
Yeah.
The nostalgia factor kind of kicks it out. Um, but yeah, I don't know. When I'm looking at the rest of the stuff, like that's the world where I'm like, you're the one I least want to go back and revisit. You're the one if I was like, you can take a ticket to 16 of these 17 worlds, which one are you not going to? Like King's Quest.
Hmm.
Don't need to go see
Interesting.
it. Um, Overall,
My overall worst game, I don't even need to say.
yeah, same with me.
My overall best game was Bard's Tale. Just a classic, great role playing game. What did you pick?
I'm going Rings of Zilfin.
Good call.
It's not the game I had the most fun with, but I think it's the game that left the biggest impact on me. Um,
Yeah, like I had never played the Bard's Tale one, so it was new to me.
hmm
And being as old as it was and engaging as it was
Yeah.
surprising.
Um, and it is part of why I wanted you to play Wizardry 1 before we played Bardsdale, because like you weren't that into Wizardry before. Can you imagine going back to it now?
Right.
I mean, now you're going to be like, this is even worse than I thought it was before, because it is so pokey and so slow, and it's trying to do the same thing, but it's only doing it in a dungeon, and it's
Right.
if
Yeah,
you've
I
got,
think go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you got some nostalgia for Wizardry, or you want something even lower key than Bardsdale, it's pretty good. But
Yeah. I think Rings of Zilfin was a good like if I had to choose a different one,
hmm
I probably would have picked Rings of Zilfin because it was probably the best overall experience. I don't know that it was the best game, like
hmm
of these, like as a game.
right.
I would pick Bard's Tale, but if you're talking about like the best overall experience, I might pick Rings of
Yeah.
Zilfin over it.
I'm just looking through our list here. I know you didn't dig Hunter,
Yeah, I didn't really like Hunter that much.
but I'm like, so Hunter, Alone in the Dark 2, Strike Commander. Those were like what I would consider our bad games this year. Would you put any other ones on that list?
No, no. I think those are the three.
I went into Karateka planning on hating it,
I
and
really liked it.
I had a good time. It didn't get any notice of anything in my thing. Should have probably gotten an honorable mention in sound and music, but
Yeah, And like intro, the intro was really stylistic and well done. And if you, especially if you throw
Hmm.
the cutscenes in there, like the cutscenes were all really cool.
Yeah. What are the games I mentioned nothing about? So I mentioned nothing about Carmageddon. I didn't have it on any of my lists.
Hmm.
Uh, Conan Halls of Volta, I moved something onto there, but
Yeah.
begrudgingly. Hunter and Karateka, I didn't do anything with. Neuromancer got those. Oregon Trail, I didn't give anything to.
Yeah. Yeah. What can you say about Oregon Trail that hasn't already been said?
Same with Populous. Didn't have anything else to say about it. But that's it. Those are the ones. Did you have any you didn't do anything with?
Yeah. Ultima, I didn't do anything with. Populous, I didn't do anything with. Neuromancer, or no, Neuromancer, I gave best music.
Hmm.
Uh, Conan Halls of Volta, which I really liked.
I did too.
I, that
Um,
that was up there on the nostalgia list for me too because I
yeah.
loved that game as a kid.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's interesting because it's not that they're bad or even unremarkable. It's just they weren't the best or
They weren't
worst
there.
game.
Yeah. They were just sort of in the middle. They didn't
Yep,
do anything great
they
or
were the
awful or
yep.
just games. Um, I say that like meh, meh, but really, like we were talking about with Conan, is a good game. Just
Yeah.
didn't excel or decel at any of the things we talked about. Um, Anything else we want to talk about last year before we go on?
I think I'm good.
All right. The game we will be playing, our big game, going through January, will be Starflight, the first one, which is what Star Control was based off of.
Sweet.
Um, I like Starflight better than Star Control, or at least I did. Let's check back in a month and see if I still do.
Are you gonna play it on PC or there's an Amiga version?
uh, there's an Amiga version, there's a Commodore 64 version that I screwed up when I finally got my copy of it because it saves how it handled doing such a large universe is it didn't have save games. It literally would rewrite the universe when it saved.
Oh wow.
So when you download it, make sure you make a copy of that directory, whichever one you're using, so that as you play, if you need to restart or start a second game or whatever you do, you have a fresh, clean universe to start in. Um, but very similar gameplay to Star Control, except for combat, which is a little different. Um,
Cool.
Yeah, and then we will finish up our Tunnels of Doom. I don't want to talk too much about that, but I think we're both having a good time with that one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm enjoying Tunnels of Doom.
Tunnels of Doom is good. If you haven't started playing Tunnels of Doom, get yourself a little TI-99 emulator. Check out some Tunnels of Doom. You'll
Yeah.
want to load Quest uh,
Right. And Alt 6 is progress. The
or
keys
Page
are
Up.
Page up works too.
Hmm.
I've been doing Alt 6 for Proc D.
Yeah, I'll do Page Up and Escape
Okay.
for my forward and backward, which are a little weird, but works.
Yeah. Interesting.
Um, yeah. All right. If nothing else, then we'll talk to everybody in about 2 weeks when we talk about Tunnels of Doom.
All right.
All right.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.